racing towards third. Are they going to send him? Here he comes. PCA to the plate. And wow! Hey! Inside the park home run. Pete Crow.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Baseball Buddies with Pat and Jeff. I'm Pat. That's Jeff. We are the Baseball Buddies. And we missed last week, unfortunately. Scheduling conflicts. I was on the road. I was between Atlanta and Chicago. Jeff had a sick child. So we said, you know what? We'll wait a week. We had a long off season full of pods leading up to the season. And really, I mean, I can wait another week to take my Mike Trout victory lap. Like, surely he'll still be hitting a week from now. Well, things don't always work out the way you plan, so we're going to pivot and talk about anything other than Mike Trout today. Jeff, how you doing, bud? Good to see you.
I'm doing okay, Pat. I'm doing okay. Getting ready for a trip to Atlanta of my own. However, scheduling-wise, I'll be ready to record this podcast from a nice Four Seasons hotel room in Atlanta. Don't try to find me. I will be using an alias. They get really annoyed because they're like, who the fuck are you to use an alias? And my response is always the same. I'm a guy that likes my privacy. Go fuck yourself. So Todd Barrett it is. Wait, that's an old comedian from Comedic Blend or something. Is it Todd Barrett?
Todd Barry.
Look up Todd Barrett. No, maybe it is. No,
Todd
I'm
Barry.
pretty sure there's a guy named Todd Barrett, and he had like a weird, just one of these. What do you call this?
Soul patch.
Is that what it is? If it goes all the way down, it's still a soul patch?
I mean, it's a lot of soul.
Yeah, it's like a soul patch.
It's soul strip.
Yeah.
Soul strip.
Okay.
I made that up. It sounds right.
It's a soul train, right? That's what it is.
Sure.
Soul train.
I'm looking up Todd Barrett.
Anyway. Look up Todd Barrett. I bet you that's a comedian, and he dressed kind of like a rock star a little bit, and had a soul train.
I think you're thinking of Andrew Dice Clay.
No, dude, I'm not. Andrew Dice Clay's never had a soul patch.
Well, you said dressed kind of like a rock star. I looked up Todd Barrett, and
I'm gonna find this guy.
There doesn't even seem to be anybody by that name existing on Earth.
And that's why it's my alias in hotel rooms. So thank you very much, Pat. How are you doing?
I'm great. Congratulations on your comedic success in the 90s and your soul strip, Todd. I'm good. Enjoyed my trip. Got to check out my 30th ballpark, Truist Park down in Atlanta. It's very, very nice. I have it ranked 10th out of the 30 that I've been to. And then got to go to Chicago, spend some time there. I was going to check out the White Sox home opener against the Blue Jays. Murakami versus Okamoto. Gotta have it. And plus, White Sox tickets, even for the home opener, were like $15. But that game was unfortunately rained out. So I wasn't able to do that. But it's been a good, from a baseball perspective, good first couple weeks of the season for me. Been to 4 games at 3 ballparks. And seen some things that I'm excited to talk about on the pod today.
Oh, I'm fucking psyched for that. By the way, I figured out the guy's name. It is Greg Barrett. And if you look him up, he looks exactly like I described him.
I remember Greg Barrett.
Yeah, you do?
I do. I see. I was spelling Barrett wrong as well. B-E-H. Yep. There's an H in Greg Barrett.
B-E-H-R-E-N-D. He's got the D-T too. That's how you know it's real.
Yeah, I remember this. I might have even opened for this guy at some point.
Is that right? Congratulations. You had a great comedy career. Is that still going?
I did my first set of the year in Chicago.
How'd it go?
One of those things where as a comic who hasn't been up in several months, there's spots where you can feel that you're rusty. And you can feel like, ooh, this would be a little bit tighter if I was like, getting up regularly. But in terms of audience reaction, couldn't have gone better. Beautiful crowd in Chicago. Crushed. Got an applause break a couple times, which feels really good. And yeah, just felt it felt really good.
Fresh into the season, no spring training, and hit a home run in his first at bat. That's nasty, Pat. Good job.
Yeah, but there were a couple pitches I fouled back first that I'm like, oh, I should have hit a home run
You were
on
on top
the
of
first
it. It was
pitch.
like the one that goes straight back. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, fun times.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really interested in how we've kicked off this baseball season. I'm gonna start talking about baseball now.
Sure.
There's one thing that I have to get off my chest. And I don't know if I've done it on this pod, but I've done it a lot when talking to people like this. I had turned into a very cranky old man when it came to technology in sports, not just baseball, but baseball is where it's most used and most visible, and I would also argue most effective. And so when ABS came along, I was very resistant to this. I believe you and I did a What's Your Beef podcast at the same time, and what I decided to beef with that day was that they were going to bring in the robot umps, and I don't want the robot umps. I don't know why we're trying to replace these human beings. The flaws in the game are what make it great. I was one of those guys. I can't even believe it's coming out of my mouth now. And we're a couple weeks into the season now, and I gotta tell you, I am the dumbest ass there's ever been. I'm the dumbest ass there's ever been, because like I kind of thought this thing would be a lot of people challenging pitches, and what this would end up showing us is how good these umpires actually are. And on the whole, when you look at it percentage wise, very good, way better than I would do, very good at what they do. But man, some of these ABS challenges have been like a middle curveball that somebody just like gets buckled knees wise on, and then they call a ball because it breaks weird into the strike zone, and then like the catcher is like, I have to challenge this, and then they do, and it's like so obvious, and I'm just like, immediately this is better. It is so much better that we no have to be like, look at how much of a strike that pitch was. Now we can see immediately how much of a pitch that strike was. And I gotta tell you, I still do love the human element, because what's more fun than to see another human being publicly embarrassed immediately for a bad decision? So I'm all in on the ABS. I think, man, you had a really hot take that I've seen now repeated more socially, which is that the changes that we've seen come from Rob Manfred. He does not it's not a bad batting average. That guy has improved the game significantly, made it more watchable, made it more accessible, and just added elements to the game that were either dying off or are completely new, that are upping the fan enjoyment while they're watching. And ABS is one of those things. Big mea culpa from me on ABS. I was wrong.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Because Lord knows I wouldn't have. If I was wrong, I would have never brought it up again. So you're more of a man than I am. So respect on that. Yeah, as I said when we first discussed ABS, the issue that I have is that people are so anti whoever the commissioner is. Because it's not exclusive to Manfred. It's not exclusive to baseball. It's all sports. The commissioner gets booed at every ceremony in every sport. But people are like under this weird impression that Rob Manfred has been bad for baseball. And again, just in terms of the rule changes, no. It's impossible to argue that his rule changes have not been good. There have been some that have been ineffective. I was thinking about the other day, spin rate seems to still be going through the roof, and they're still pretending to check everybody's glove. Like, they clearly found a way around that, and everybody was like, all right, we tried, we'll deal with it again like some other time. So not all of them have been effective, but like the ones that have been very effective, and really nothing that is like outwardly harming the game. Everything seems to, at the very least, be irrelevant and at best be improving it by leaps and bounds. The other thing that I said that I stand by is that most of the arguments against Rob Manfred's policies involve having to defend something that sucks. And I said to you then, when you were like, I enjoy the human element. I enjoy umpires make a mistake. I was like, why would you enjoy that? And it's just a thing. But now I see what you're saying, because it's like now you have a new human element, which is watching. I'm not going to say CB Bucknor, because that has become tantamount to elder abuse. Oof. That guy, I've done a 180 on, and I'm like, I actually feel this is cruel. We have to stop doing this. I feel like when Buckner's behind home plate, you shouldn't put it on the scoreboard. You should just go under a tent like the NFL and come back and be like, he got it wrong, but it was close. Just, it's fine. That dude is, he's not going to last long with this system. But no, overall, I think it's been great. And, being at a couple games, I'll tell you, there is a moment at the ballpark where a call gets challenged and everybody, and this won't last. Eventually, people will become numb to it. But in this society where people are distracted by their phones and they're not totally paying attention, the moment the umpire goes, calls under review, and everybody looks up at the thing, it's like this collective shared moment amongst people in the stands where we're like, are we gonna get to watch this guy clowned on and make a fool out of himself right now? And everybody's attention goes to the board. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's a lot of fun, man.
You know what's great about it at its core? I would argue that ABS is a thing that we need right now as a people, as a society, because you know what it is? It is sweet, swift, immediate justice. And you just never see it. It is the guy that speeds past you recklessly getting pulled over by the cops seconds later. You know what I mean? It's that instant gratification of seeing somebody who did wrong get wronged, and that is, man, there's just not enough of it for us to sink our teeth into on a day-to-day basis. So I have I would say I've done even more than a 180. I don't know if I've done like a 210, because I'm in now. I'm not just like, I'm okay with this. I'm like, this is way better than I ever imagined it would be.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. So congrats to Rob Manfred on another win. You are never going to get the respect you deserve, sir. But, and you know what? Maybe before I go giving you too many flowers, let's just say this is the one thing you're really good at. You didn't punish the Astros at all for stealing a World Series. By the end of the season, fans in the stands will be able to scan a QR code on the back of their seat to put their life savings on the next batter getting a single. You're ruining families and contributing to the destruction of civilization. But ABS system, bro.
Yeah, and you're going to oversee a work stoppage. We all know what's coming. It's your fault, kind of. So that's you too.
Yeah,
that's
overall, the more I talk about it, the more I think maybe you kind of suck. But this one thing, the rule changes.
Super good at rules.
You're killing it, man.
Yeah, not a lot of people are good at rules. That's a unique talent. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm gonna do a real quick thing because I did a mea culpa. I have to wash my mouth out, and so I'm over here, and I got to tell you, Pat, it sucks because my Chicago Cubs are at the bottom of the NL Central. But I look at the top of that thing and I see the 8-3 Cincinnati Reds. And there was one person in the entire sports media that said you should watch out for the Reds this year. And it wasn't any fucking Reds guy. It was me. I said that shit. And they're 8-3 and they're at the top of the division. And they might have a new superstar in Sal Stewart, who is just murdering the ball. You called that. I'm going to give you a little bit. Why don't I give you a little bit while we're at it right now? But God damn it, here are the Reds. No Hunter Green, no fucking problem. No problem. We'll just wait. We'll just take those bone chips or whatever the fuck out of his elbow, and then we'll hope he comes back in July and is still Hunter Green. He's on my fantasy team. I sure hope that's what happens. But man, top to bottom, they haven't even gotten what they should get out of Eugenio Suarez. They haven't gotten anything out of most of their outfield. TJ Friedel, a guy that can typically you could pencil in for like 260 with a 340 on base and some steals and some homers and just good at bats in general. That hasn't happened yet. Matt McClain has started well, but boy, Sal Stewart is just whooping that ass right now. And once this team gets clicking, once it heats up a little bit, once we get into that little bandbox bullshit ass fucking stadium that they have there in Cincinnati, oh man, the homers are going to be flying, and fucking Chase Burns is going to be striking people out still, and Hunter Green's going to be coming back, and these 8-3 Reds that I told you about right from the beginning of this podcast are going to still be at the top of that goddamn division. Oh my God, I mean, obviously the Brewers devil magic is going to catch them eventually, but they're going to make the playoffs. These ones, they're going to do it. So,
well, as a pundit, I'd like to offer you congratulations on the prediction. As a Cubs fan, I'm deeply sorry.
It sucks, dude.
Yeah, not good. Not good. So
this season.
It's nice that you're able to compartmentalize and take enjoyment out of your team just getting boat raced by the Reds early on here. Here's the thing. You ever listen to somebody make a point, and the point is overall salient and good, but you latch on to like one detail of the point and have that kind of encapsulate the entire thing? That's what I did with you when you did the Reds thing. I caught on to, and you want to talk about Hunter Green not being available, how about Cy Young candidate Nick Lodolo, also on the 15-day IL? That was the part that where you lost me, because I was like so on board, and then you're like, Nick Lodolo, these are Cy Young guys, and I'm like, whoa. And then, to me, and this isn't fair, but it kind of like invalidated the whole point, where I'm like, Jeff went on this long tirade about Nick Lodolo, and really that was just a small, tiny piece of an overall really good point. And who knows, maybe he'll, come back now and actually be at that level. I don't know. I certainly agreed with you on Sal Stewart, because on, the predictions episode where we were supposed to pick some breakout candidates, that was my guy from the NL Central. And he has been absolutely ridiculous. But the Reds, I mean, dude, they're not only good, but they're fun. They're easy to root for. Not only because they're young and they're fun, but they're also homegrown. Like in like pro wrestling parlance, right? The Dodgers are the unstoppable bad guy who holds the championship. So you have to build up these like plucky, like, little baby faces and make the crowd believe that they could win the championship, right? The Cincinnati Reds could be that team where there's nothing not to like about them. They have the excitement of Ellie De La Cruz and Chase Burns and Hunter Green, and just like skill-wise, these guys who have these super marketable, like high ceiling skills that very few people have, but they're also homegrown. Even like they're air quotes big free agents, like Eugenio Suarez was like, he was a Red, he's coming home. You know what I mean? Like, there is nothing to look at them and be like, oh, I don't like that about them. Literally everything they've done is likable. So I would love it if they emerge as a real kind of like contender. Do I think that they could beat the Dodgers no, of course. And what are we talking about here? But God, they would be a fun team to root for in that situation.
Oh my God, and it would be fun to see like that ballpark play in the playoffs. Like no lead would be safe. That would be a whole lot of fun. I mean, they would need an absolutely healthy Hunter Green, and I would have to be absolutely right about Nick Lodolo. And that is a lot to ask. He was good last year. He had a 3.33 ERA. That's not bad. That's good. He's a good mid-rotation starter, but he is probably not a contender for this.
Hey, if you have a mid rotation guy at 3 1/3 ERA, that's a hell of a rotation.
I do. I think that they've got it. They just is the health going to be there or is it not? And they've got. I mean, for my money, man, I don't know what it is. I have always loved Terry Francona. I just think that guy's a great manager.
I mean, what's so funny is like Philadelphia, and part of this is like what I was just talking about with Manfred, right? I think there's also a proclivity for fans to hate all the managers. And Philly is certainly doing that now with Rob Thompson. I mean, the guy came in, has made the playoffs 4 years in a row, and everybody's like, this guy's an idiot. They did it with Charlie Manuel until he won a championship. And I think it's because fans can look at superstar players and they're like, well, I can't hit a ball 400 feet and I can't throw a ball 100 miles an hour, but I could run the league. I could be the commissioner. I could make the lineups. I'm smarter than these guys. People are easily tricked into thinking that they are smarter than everybody else, right? But you can't really, even the dumbest people are like, well, yeah, I'm not going to hit a ball out of, Wrigley. Like, I get that, right? So they turn on the managers, and Terry Francona was one of the earliest examples of that in, my youth. He was the Phillies manager before anything else. And I remember hearing my dad listening to sports talk radio. I mean, this is back in 96, 97 he was in Philly. So, I'm 13, 14, he's driving me to school, and I'm listening to caller after caller be like, this guy is an idiot. He's clueless. He's never going to be a good manager. And then he moved on from Philadelphia and has been a winner at every single stop he's made since. And really, in my lifetime of being a Philadelphia sports fan, one of the things that the fan base has been the most wrong about, and they've been wrong about a lot of things, but Terry Francona might be at the top of that list.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a guy who, a lot of times we get into the playoffs nowadays, and it's not that the Guardians haven't been in the playoffs since they have, since he stopped being the manager. But he did take one of those teams that gets into the playoffs and you're like, cool, nice story, to the World Series. I remember that one well. But he got there, and that's if the Brewers make the World Series this year, that's miraculous. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Because it's not only because of the Dodgers, it's just because when you're that plucky little team that we get base hits and we grind out at bats and we don't necessarily have a guy that can hit it 520 feet. When you're that team, you typically don't go that far in the playoffs, and you're all built on a rotation that you constantly have to turn over, just as the Brewers. It's just hard to make it all the way there. I'm having trouble because I need to ask you to do something. I need to ask you to do something, and it feels early to ask you to do this.
Okay.
I already have to ask you to do this. Can you make me feel better about the Cubs? Is there anything you can do to make me feel better about the Cubs? Is there a thing you can say to make me feel better?
Nothing that you're going to appreciate or take seriously. I can only look. I mean, if we're dealing with actual specifics about the Cubs, no, I can't make you feel better because we're 2 weeks into the season and there's been 3 significant injuries on your team already. Which I don't have the bedside manner to sit here and be like, no, your pitcher's arms falling off is not a problem. It is. It's bad. Mm-hmm. It's bad.
My best one. My best one.
One of your best position players getting injured during the WBC. It just feels ominous, right? It feels like,
Yep.
well, the season hasn't even started yet, and we're on a down note. The only platitude that I can offer you is just kind of like, it's early, and I know everybody hates to hear that, but again, my experience in the Philadelphia market, and I would assume most other major sports markets, is people do have a real tendency to, especially in baseball, overreact, in the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, I've seen a lot of teams go 12-16 in April and end up fine.
Yeah. I think where I'm at is when we spoke about the Cubs earlier in this season, the thing that we liked about them is how deep that they are. I just didn't think that we would already be here. It is 2 starts into Cade Horton's season, and he's cooked. Matthew Boyd, also in the IL. That's your 2 best starters from last year. Like, I still like Imanaga, but they don't even really like Imanaga. They tried to get rid of him this offseason, and he was like, no, you reject the option. Now I'm going to pick up my option, and so I'm going to be back and pitching on your team whether you like it or not. There's still some options, less than there were. It's been a weird season because then they went and they signed Pete Crow Armstrong to a long-term deal, which I like. I like Pete Crow Armstrong. They signed Nico Horner to a long-term contract, and they gave these guys some significant money, which I like. Spending the money is a good thing, but both of those guys are so interesting because so much of their money looks ridiculous compared to what the stat line could be. Like, Nico Horner is going to hit 8 home runs this year. And so it doesn't feel like he should be making $28 million a year or whatever it is. But he's so good defensively, and he's so good at other aspects of the game that, you have to just be like, no, he's worth it. He's worth it. And Pete Crow Armstrong is going to go through what could be an entire half of a season slump, just like he did last year. And you still have to be like, but he's so fucking good at center field, and he's so fast, and he still does all these things. So it's like all this money is going to these players that like aren't necessarily consistent contributors all the way throughout. I say all this to say I'm really starting to wonder if Jed Hoyer is bad at this.
You can't do that. You guys are about to win this game that's being played right now. Stop it. Stop.
We're about to go to 500.
Let me talk.
I know, but I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna let you talk.
You guys are about to be 500 after this. Yes, that is last place in the NL Central. And yes, last place is not good, but you're 500. Under other circumstances, that would be, you'd be in second place and you would not even be tripping about it. You'd be like, we're 500 coming into today. Some of your best players that you should be able to trust have just gotten off to slow starts. Michael Busch is hitting 140, Dansby Swanson's hitting 150, Alex Bregman 188, Ian Happ 200. Okay. And then you get to PCA, who I think, like, we have a little bit less of, obviously the ceiling is very high, but we have a little bit less of a barometer on what he's going to be like from an average perspective. But those other 4 guys, I think it's very safe to say they are not going to hit anywhere near that. They're going to be a lot better. You're dealing with injuries, you're dealing with underperformance, and you're about to be 6-6. And by the way, the teams that are ahead of you, they are overachieving right now. There's no other way to say it. The Cincinnati Reds are on pace for, 120 wins? Like, that's not going to keep up. The Pirates are 7-5, and believe me, if anything, you might have to deal with the fact that nobody wants your team to win. You guys are the small market Dodgers in that division because the teams you're up against are infinitely more fun to root for. The Pirates with Skeens and Griffin, the Reds we just talked about. You guys are kind of like the evil empire, except not good enough to really carry that torch. But in the Central, where everybody's poor, by default, that's you. But you guys are more talented, I believe, than these other teams. That's going to rise to the top. I think you're going to be fine, and I think that you're overreacting at this point. Now, the Jed Hoyer thing, the reason I stopped you is because you might be onto something. And I wanted to get that point out before you twisted into the Jed Hoyer thing. Because now we're not looking at a 12-game sample size. I have a real problem with, people getting on and yelling and screaming about a 12-game sample size and not acknowledging that it means almost nothing. Now we're dealing with a bigger body of work. Now we're dealing with, multiple years of not being able to be the standout team in a division where 3 of the markets don't spend any money whatsoever, and St. Louis is supposed to be in a downspin right now. They're 7-5. I can't believe that they're 7-5. That's crazy. That's never going to last. But if you want to look at overall the job that Jed Hoyer has done and been like, all right, now we have a conversation.
I think the thing for me with Jed Hoyer that's like very easy to track is this. I look at Alex Bregman's box score or stat line this year. And I know it's early. He'll regress to the mean and all that stuff, but probably a little less than normal because he's getting older. So you decline. So I look at that, and then I look at Kyle Tucker's, and I go, well, that's better. But were they going to spend that much money? I don't know. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea. But then I look at Cam Smith's in Houston, who is having a breakout season for the Houston Astros right now. A lot of good it's doing them, considering they're also hurt and just got swept by the fucking Rockies. And I'm just like, why'd you do that trade? Why would you do that trade? Cam Smith sure would be nice with Alex Bregman right now. God damn, I need a right fielder. I don't have one right now. He was hurt in the WBC, like you said, and he's a DH anyway. He's a fucking butcher in right field. So there's just certain stuff about that guy. It's like where the money is, and I'm like, look, I like Dansby Swanson. I like Alex Bregman. I like Nico Horner, and I like Pete Crow Armstrong, but only one of the people that I just named has any shot at all, and it is a 95th percentile outcome to be a superstar, and that's Pete Crow Armstrong. So I don't know. I'm just I'm starting to worry, and I look at this division, and I know that it's a lot of like, oh, fast starts or whatever. We're only a couple weeks into the season, but like everybody is at least 2 games over 500, including the Cardinals and the Pirates. And I look at this and I go, something's real here. Like a lot of early season stuff is noise, but like something in here is real. Something in here is like, this is a good team that we maybe didn't expect to be a good team. It may be the Reds. I might have been right for fucking once. I know the Brewers are going to be good. And then you have the Pirates and the Cardinals. There's reason to believe the Pirates could be a lot better than they have been in the past. The Cardinals, I completely expect the Cubs to jump them in the standings, but my God, like 2 of the 3 above them right now could be real. And then it becomes a very people getting fired season in Chicago. That's where
it's also possible that Jed Hoyer, who has been there for a long time and was there for the championship, right? Like, so it feels almost sacrilegious to take a guy who was like instrumental in that and be like, is he bad? It's possible for somebody to be good, but make some really poor decisions. And certainly it seems like in retrospect, trading Isaac Paredes and Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker for 1 season to then let him walk. And I'm not saying they should. It's the same thing with the Phillies and Bichette. I'm not mad at the Phillies for not paying what I consider to be an astronomical price for Bo Bichette. I am mad at them for not doing the things around that move to cover for it. And in this case, the things around that move would be to not make the move in the first place to trade significant assets for a guy who is 1 year away from, and even if you remove the 4 and 240 deal that he ended up signing, this is a guy that people and we talked about it oftentimes before this podcast started, just off air, just as friends. I'm like, people are talking about $500 million for Kyle Tucker? What fucking planet are they living on? Like, at the very least, even if you thought you were going to get him, what you were doing was acknowledging, like, hey, we want to get this guy here a year early, and we're willing to give up significant resources to make it happen so that we can then convince him that this is the place he wants to make $500 million. And it didn't happen. It seems like an unnecessary roll of the dice, especially when you were, kind of willing to move on from Cody Bellinger, who, in my mind, is a significantly cheaper version of Kyle Tucker. Like, not even that significant of a downgrade. I would make the argument that
I salary dumped him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
You salary dumped Bellinger and went all in on Tucker and then weren't able to retain Tucker. But even if you had been able to retain Tucker, I don't think he's that much better than Bellinger to where it warrants this move. So I think that was a very poor series of moves. I'm totally in agreement with you there. I'm not worried about Bregman, and I'm not worried about Happ, and I'm not worried about Swanson. I'm worried about the injuries. You guys are lucky Imanaga decided to pick up his option and come back, because Lord knows you need that guy in the rotation right now. But I think it's fair to look at everything that happened in the line from Cody Bellinger to Kyle Tucker to Cam Smith to what we have now and be like, oof, yeah, that did not go according to plan.
It's a worrisome start to the season, and as worried as I am, I'm still not as worried as I think I would be as if I was a fan of two teams that when we were doing our predictions, I think we were like all over as like good bets. And that's the 4-9 Seattle Mariners and the 4-8 Boston Red Sox. Which one do you think is more likely to stick near the bottom of the standings when you look at those, when you think about those two teams?
Logically and emotionally.
4-9. It's crazy. Sorry.
I hate to say this because they were one of the real feel-good stories of last season. And their fans have suffered for a long, long, long time. They've never won a World Series. And when you saw that team last year, you're like, well, this team's going to be good for a while. The vibes around the Seattle Mariners going all the way back to Handshake Gate in the WBC, they've just been bad, man. And I say logistically, or logically and emotionally, because that's the emotional component of it, where I'm like, the vibes, man, the vibes are bad. But the other piece to the puzzle is that everybody knew Cal Raleigh was going to regress. That's not a knock on him as a ball player. The guy hit 60 home runs last year. He was not going to repeat the greatest season in the history of catchers. He just wasn't. So you expected him to regress. Julio, you kind of know what you're getting, and that guy is outstanding. But Randy Arozarena is another guy who has had peaks and valleys throughout his career. They gave more money than I would have anticipated Josh Naylor getting. They pivoted from Polanco to Brendan Donovan, which seems like kind of a wash. The rotation is one of those that, like, on paper, everybody tabbed as kind of like, this is the breakout rotation. This is the one. That's the one where everybody kind of looks at it and they go, oh, all of those guys are capable of being all-stars. They are, but I think a lot of the projections of the Mariners, are based on potential in terms of that rotation. And I saw so many guys on this team where I'm like, that could be someone who takes a little step back from where they were last year. And, I know Eugenio Suarez was not good for them, by and large. But then in the playoffs, he delivered one of the biggest hits in franchise history. And that's a guy that you could have had back for almost nothing. And you chose not to. And he's not flawless, but you're actively like, we're going to pass on these 40 homers in the middle of our lineup. I didn't love their offseason. I hated the vibes during the WBC, and I don't, it feels just as likely that last year could have been a magical year where everything broke correctly as it does they're the team to beat in the West going forward.
Yeah. They also feel a lot like they are scared to make the final move. I understand that they traded for Naylor and they traded for Suarez last year. Like, that is some activity at the deadline. That's good stuff. They re-signed Naylor in the offseason. He's been atrocious to start the season. But it just feels like they're scared to make the big move that it feels like they make. Like, one thing that bothers me right now is last week we got word that they just signed their top prospect, and like, I think because the other ones are up, the number one prospect in baseball, Colt Emerson, to a long-term deal. Like, they paid him real money. They did the thing. They did the early contract thing. What the fuck is he still doing in the minor leagues? Listen, I know JP Crawford has been probably like a fan favorite Seattle Mariner, but he's old and he doesn't have the range at short that he used to have. He used to be a wizard. He used to be so good. He used to be the only reason he was in the fucking league. It's not there anymore. You're not better with JP Crawford in the lineup instead of Colt Emerson. I'm not sure why they're not making that move right now. I'm not sure why, considering how stacked their system is overall, that we're not going to see this team go for fucking broke. I think like it can have a huge impact on your clubhouse, and it just like, say to your players that you want to win fucking baseball games. The best team is not on the field right now. It's not. Like, I just can't understand why that guy just isn't there right now. Having said that, I do disagree with you. I actually think it's the Red Sox, because I think what happened is like they did a bunch of stuff in the offseason, and all in a vacuum, I was like, oh, that's nice. Wilson Contreras to play first base. That seems right. That's good. It's the best offensive park he's ever played in. That's fun. Caleb Durbin, I could see how that could work. Look at all these young players. We got Roman Anthony. That might be an MVP candidate. We got all these pitchers. We got all these, Connolly Early, and we got Brian Bayo, and we got Garrett Crochet. I got it right this time. Garrett Crochet, and we've got the bullpen to match. But none of it's working right now. None of the stuff they did is working. And so that worries me in a division where seemingly everything is fucking working for the Yankees right now. They look great. Baltimore is just straight up right now more talented than the Red Sox are. They're just better. Toronto was in the World Series last year. The Rays are always annoying. Not always good, always annoying. So I think it's actually the Red Sox. But I agree with you 100% that the vibes are way off in Seattle right now, and there has to be something to shake it up. And for me, it doesn't make any fucking sense that tomorrow we don't get a notification that Colt Emerson is called up to be in the major leagues. It just doesn't make any sense. Change the vibe. Do something different.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other reasons I didn't pick the Red Sox is because, like, I didn't really... My expectations weren't as high for the Red Sox as they were for the Mariners, right? So, to me, the Mariners thing is, like, a little bit more, like, shocking. Like, the Red Sox, I'm just like, okay, they're off to, like, a little bit of a slow start. The Mariners, just, it feels different because they were so close to going to the World Series last year. I mean, they were one game away and really a couple innings away. The thing with Colt Emerson is, like, yeah, if you're going to pay him,
What are we doing?
he's got to be in the majors. And I'm not even sitting here saying like, oh, well, you have to replace Crawford. I'm not even on that train. I am on the train of you are playing. Who are they playing at second base? Cole Young?
Cole Young. They're platooning Cole Young at second base.
With Rivas?
Well, I think so. And Brendan Donovan. Or it
Donovan's
might be
playing
Bliss.
like a third.
Donovan's playing
right?
third. So
Right.
what you could do is call Emerson up, kick him to third, or kick Crawford to third, and then put Donovan at second, or just put Crawford at second, or put Emerson at second.
That's what I'm
Any
saying.
of it.
You got to try something. If you're going to pay the guy, he might as well be in the major leagues. And also, this is a team that doesn't have a set DH. They use that DH spot to get Cal Raleigh a lot of at bats. Well, Cal Raleigh's struggling right now, so why don't you use that DH spot to get Brendan Donovan off his feet for a day? You know what I'm saying? Get Naylor off his feet for a day. I'm sure if you take Naylor out of the lineup, you could put Donovan at first and Emerson at third. You could figure something out.
It's the whole point of Brendan Donovan is that he's not very good anywhere, but he's fine everywhere.
Exactly. And you just need to inject something into this team because they look listless so far. So that is where I was coming from on the Mariners. Can I be more positive for a second here?
Yes.
I want to tell you about a couple people I've been impressed by in person. So we're 2 weeks into the season. I've been to 4 games. 2 of the Dodgers Diamondbacks games in the opening series. I'm not going to be. What are you doing math on?
Trying to guess who you're impressed by. That's all. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So Dodgers Diamondbacks. I'm not impressed by anybody on the Dodgers just because I know what they're capable of, right? And I'm certainly not Alec Thomas. Nobody from that series really stood out. But then I've been to 2 other games. I went to the game at Truist Park, which was Braves versus the Athletics. And we were originally supposed to go to the game the next day. Some things got switched around scheduling-wise. Tuesday became the better game. But then on Wednesday, Chris Sale was pitching. And I made a comment to my wife. I said, listen, I've never seen Chris Sale pitch. He's probably the best active player that I have not seen live. I've never gotten the chance to. I said, if he happens to pitch in Southern California this season, I'm going to go out of my way to see him. Turns out his next start was in Anaheim. Literally the week we got back. So I made the venture down to Angel Stadium this past Monday to see Chris Sale. So I've seen the Braves twice now. Once at home against the A's, once on the road against the Angels. They lost both games, which is always fun to watch the Braves lose. Chris Sale, I got a weird experience out of because he was overall very bad. But the way his night went, he gave up a home run on the first pitch of the game. Then he was absolutely unhittable for the next 9 batters. I felt like I was watching the greatest pitcher I've ever seen live. Because he's so big and gangly and just dominant, and nobody had any shot at hitting that slider. It was one of the few times where I'm watching a game and I'm just like, I am watching a legendary performance right now. And I was like, he might go the full 9. He might, after the home run, 27 in a row. That's how good he looked. And then he came out in the top of the 4th, got ahead 0-2 on Jorge Soler. Soler had no shot. 2 sliders in a row. He couldn't touch it. He looked ridiculous. And then he threw a 3rd slider, and it nicked Soler on the foot for a hit by pitch. And then Sale lost his fucking mind and could not throw a strike. He punched himself in the head with the ball at one point. He had a bases-loaded walk, a bases-loaded hit by pitch. I don't think the Angels hit a ball hard the entire inning, and before you know it, it was 4-1. They marched him back out there for the 5th. He immediately gave up a single and a homer, and he was out of the game. 4 innings, 6 runs. But, man, there was a 3-inning stretch where I was like, I saw greatness, right? So he's not one of the 2 guys who impressed. I just want to tell my Chris Sale story. The 2 guys I've been impressed by, number 1, and I got his bobblehead down in Atlanta, Drake Baldwin, the reigning defending rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Homered in both games. And this kid can rake. Drake Baldwin was really hitting the ball. And the second one was even more impressive because the second guy who impressed me, I went to see Chris Sale, but instead I watched a young man by the name of Jose Soriano. That was the opening day starter for the Angels, and I rolled my eyes at and I said, boy, how far have the Angels fallen where Jose Soriano is the opening day starter? Well, let me tell you something. 3 starts into the season, the home run to Drake Baldwin, the solo shot in the first inning the other day, is the only run he's given up. 3 starts, he's given up 1 run. On Monday, I watched him throw 8 innings, give up only the home run to Drake Baldwin, and 2 other singles, one of which was Drake Baldwin. 8
Jesus
innings,
Christ.
no walks, 10 Ks. For as incredible as Chris Sale looked for those 3 innings, that's as incredible as Jose Soriano looked for the entire 8. The Braves, who have a very good lineup, had no shot at hitting this guy. I was blown away by how good Jose Soriano looked, and I was very, very impressed by Drake Baldwin.
Yeah, Drake Baldwin, to your point, just carrying the Braves on his back. Not that, Ozzy Albies has seen a little bounce back. Matt Olson is kind of doing his thing. But man, Drake Baldwin hitting a fat 327 with a 389 on base, 653 slugging percentage. He's got 5 home runs already in 12 games. He's hitting a home run every fucking 10 at bats. Jesus Christ. He's
been incredible.
Dude,
and
that's a dude. He's great defensively too.
He is. So very, very impressive. And he's a guy that, like, when everybody talks about the Braves, even as the Rookie of the Year, I don't hear anybody talking about Drake Baldwin from a big picture perspective.
Not enough. Great name too. What a baseball name Drake Baldwin is. That only works in baseball. That's not a good hockey player. That's not a good football player. I would tell, like, if there was like, hey, there's a quarterback coming out this year. His name's Drake Baldwin. You going to take him? I would say no. That's a backup quarterback name.
I disagree. Drake May?
Yes, it is.
Drake May?
What? Drake May is the double, like a punchy 1 syllable on both thing. That's always good. You always want a quick. He's a good receiver. I was going to call him okay, like an asshole, but he's good. I can't deny that. But Drake Baldwin, no, it's a good baseball name. It's a better baseball name than it would be anywhere else.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. The kid's got everything, man. You have that kind of name and you can hit the ball that far, you're gonna be good. And it sucks as a Phillies fan, like with him and Nolan McLean and every time I see somebody where I'm just like, oh, that guy's gonna fucking ruin my life for the next 6 years minimum. It's such a bummer. But that's the vibe I got from watching Drake Baldwin. That kid can really play.
Dude, same thing when just when last week when they finally called Connor Griffin up. Like I didn't think this would happen because like we talk about baseball all the time and I play fantasy baseball and I do all this stuff. So I didn't think I would have any reaction at all, but my stomach fucking dropped. I was like, "Oh no. The next decade's going to stink."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is not going to be good at all. Schemes and this guy? Oh no.
Yeah, dude. No,
Guys,
absolutely.
He's better than everything we have.
Absolute nightmare. And by the way, while I'm here, I don't want to just say Jose Soriano. You got to give some flowers to the Angels generally early on here. They're treading water.
Out. Yep.
Trout, they dodged a bullet with the major injury. Of course, I was at the only game that he missed. Although the way he's been playing, I'm sure he wouldn't have done much of anything. But this is a team that in the last week had a game where they beat up Chris Sale, had a game with a legitimate bench-clearing brawl where punches were thrown.
Hell yeah.
Had a game where Joe Adell, who has historically been, rated as a below-average outfielder.
Oh, horrible outfielder. One of the worst ones.
And Mike Trout this year to the point of, like, they were trying to protect Trout, and he's like, I would rather have me out there crippled than Joe Adell in center field. We can't do that again. So put me out there. We got to move Adele back to right, and Adele robs 3 home runs in the same game. With the last one, he jumps into the goddamn crowd to catch it.
Yep.
I've
Was it
never
again
seen
game?
anything like it. No, that was
Nobody
the fielding
ever will.
equivalent. That was the fielding equivalent of the Scooter Jeanette 4 home run game, where it's like, really him?
Yeah,
All
really,
right.
Scooter Jeanette? Doug,
All right.
we'll never. It's a never again game. No, our entire lifetime that will never happen. Yeah, never happened since. Yeah, it'll just never happen again. 3 home runs in the same game, and it is so fucking funny that it's him. So fucking funny that it's him. But yeah, man, they've got like a little Zach Neto star turn going on. Bounce back from Jorge Soler. Things are good. Things are as good as you could possibly imagine. Jose Soriano, like you said, they got some young talent too. So treading water is as much as you could hope for.
Most upsetting of all, as a Phillies fan, Jordan Romano has been lights out as a closer for them.
I know that's just a kick in the dick.
I'm very unhappy about it, but yeah, he's been great. So I mean, shout out to the Halos.
Yeah, man. And who knows what's going to happen? We just talked about the Mariners. The Athletics are off to a rough start. Houston just got swept by the fucking Rockies. Texas is at the top at 7-5, and I still look at that team and I'm like, all right, Mackenzie Gore, that was a hell of a move.
Yeah,
he looks like an ace straight out of the gate.
Love Mackenzie Gore. I'm a fan of like the big lefties. Ever since Randy Johnson, I'm just like, when I see a big lefty, I'm like, you are gonna be a stud, even if they're not. Remember, like Mark Hendrickson? Every year I was like, this is the Mark Hendrickson season. And every year he was like, I promise you I'm not good.
That's why you got a Chris Sale chub for 3 innings. I totally get it.
But Chris Sale also, Christopher Sanchez, right? Like,
yeah, he's wonderful.
How tall is Nick Lodolo?
I'm gonna look it up right now. I hope he's 6'6".
I might be willing to change my tune on this guy.
Nick Lodolo.
I might be willing.
216 pounds.
Perennial Cy Young candidate Nick Lodolo.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm completely on board with Lodolo now. Yeah, any lefty over 6'4", they're good.
One more guy I think that we have to talk about, and really we should just make this like a weekly segment. But going into today, Shohei Ohtani had the longest on-base streak in the league, and the longest scoreless pitching streak in the league. Now, today he did get on base, so that's still active.
Yeah.
But he did give up a run. However, that run was unearned. So I know we have to start a new streak, but like it was unearned.
Yeah.
He still has a 0 ERA right now.
Yeah, I think it's 28 innings without an earned run allowed. Now, of course, there was the playoffs in the middle of that where he absolutely gave up runs.
That's true.
I know that the streak is regular season only, but when I just watched a guy get smacked around by the Blue Jays a couple times, it's hard for me to pretend that didn't happen, right? But, I mean, look, you're always, like, grasping at straws if you want to diminish anything Shohei Ohtani's doing. Like, you sound like a hater, right? Listen, there's nothing you could say. I mean, this is the greatest baseball player to ever walk the face of the earth, and we're, just so lucky that we get to experience this. That's why it's very funny to me, and I understand, because it also comes at a time where there are economic, instabilities going on in America that expand far beyond the baseball field, right? And living in LA, everybody is rightly upset about how expensive everything is. And they published an article saying that for a family of 4 to go to a Dodger game and park and everybody gets a hot dog and a soda or whatever, it's $419, something crazy. It's over $100 a person on average. And that's genuinely upsetting, right? It's also kind of a bargain. Like, the guy is Like, forget the fact that you might see Yamamoto pitch. Forget the fact that you might see Mookie Betts. He's on the IL now. Forget the fact that you're going to see Freddie Freeman, future Hall of Famer. Mookie Betts, future Hall of Famer. You know, Will Smith. Like, you're seeing just a great product kind of like across the board, all the way down to like Edwin Diaz and the back end and everything like that. Sometimes there's a premium on just the ability. What you're paying for is the ability to potentially go to the ballpark and witness something that you're going to be able to talk about 50 years from now. And look, they just did the Olympic tickets here in LA as well, and like immediately the people who got in first bought the cheapest tickets for everything. And by the time I was able to buy anything, it was the most like expensive tickets. And like we splurged on baseball. And I don't know what game I'm going to see. I have no idea if I'm going to go to the ballpark and it's going to be like Zaire versus, you know, the Yugoslavia. And it's like, I paid $170 for this, but it's like, how often do the Olympics come out in your city? Like never, right? How often is Shohei Ohtani or a player of his caliber going to play baseball? Literally never in the history of the game, and likely never again. It's insane.
Yeah, and right now, you know how lucky we are. Just globally as sports fans, it's like at the same time, we talk about for my entire life growing up. You know, every once in a while they'll make a big deal on ESPN or some other network, and they'll do like the 100 greatest athletes of all time. In my entire life, you know, that's been the top 5 has been something like Michael Jordan. Maybe Michael Phelps recently has gotten in there. Babe Ruth, Ali is always in there. I think we right now and people right now are living through who might be the top 2 once they retire. I think there's a decent shot too in Victor Wembanyama in the NBA. There's never been anybody like that. That's a different athlete. And if you're going to talk about greatest athletes of all time, I don't know if it's going to last, but like, let's say what if he plays a decade? Like, holy shit. Like, then he's, you know, number 1 or 2 on the list. And Shohei is like, that's the best sports player I've ever fucking seen. It just, you know what I mean? Like, he's just better than everybody else at the most important things. And I know in my heart, I want him to keep pitching and everything. I really do want that. But I know in my heart, part of me is like, man, I kind of just want him to be like, you know what? I'm going to play center field.
Why?
Because I want to just see him be like fucking excellent at that too. You know what I mean? Like, I just want it to be like, oh, just so I know, he could have done anything. He could have done anything. And he picked the 2 hardest things to do in the sport, hit and pitch.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And in an era where, you know, everybody's getting babied. I mean, we've talked about it countless times on various podcasts that we've done. Like, pitchers are really being babied from the time they start developing, and, you know, they have innings limits and pitch limits and everything like that. Like, this guy is taking on a workload that would have been unprecedented in the 70s. But in the 2020s, there's anything like remotely approaching what he is doing. It's, and that's the beauty of like they use the phrase unicorns, right? And that's what they are. And there's been a few during my lifetime, and it's important that we don't just apply that label to anybody. Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time. He's not a unicorn. He's just 5% better than the next best wide receiver of all time. And that's nothing to sneeze at. But he's not a unicorn. Michael Jordan is not a unicorn. He's the greatest basketball player of all time. Or LeBron. But LeBron is more of a unicorn because LeBron's doing something that nobody else has ever done. That's the deciding factor. You could debate greatness however you want.
and just somebody that can move like that at his size is
and
like
age.
and his brain, like all of that stuff is.
And that's
Yeah.
the more interesting thing to me. Greatness can be defined any number of ways, and people can, you can argue Jordan versus LeBron all day, and there's no right answer because it's subjective. But these things where it's like we will likely never see this ever again. LeBron at his age, still playing essentially the exact same game he has played. He has not become like, oh, I'm just a perimeter shooter and I lay it up now when I go to the rack. No, he's still throwing down like thunderous dunks. Wembanyama is something we have never seen. He is an alien. People tried to apply that label to Giannis. Wemby is so far beyond Giannis and what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Ohtani is a unicorn, an alien. Bo Jackson was a unicorn. He was an alien. He was, these things, I take such great joy in them. And that's why I'm not interested in like the who's better, Ohtani or Judge debate. It's like greatness I can enjoy across, however many great people you have, I'll enjoy every one of them. But this special thing where it's like seeing like Halley's Comet. That's the shit that I love. And I wish everybody would just enjoy.
Perfect way to close it out there, Pat.
Hell yeah, dude. Great to be talking ball. Lots more to come. Season just getting started, and I'm excited to talk about more of it. I'm excited to see.
Sorry to Reds fans for the losing streak I just gave you.
Yes, it's important that we say that. We come in here with the best of intentions, but if we talk positively about your team, they will be cursed, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it. So the bottom's going to fall out of that ride. Just enjoy it while it lasts. And until next time, go Drake Baldwin, go Connor Griffin, call Emerson up to the major leagues, Seattle, quit being pussies, and we'll see you guys next week on Baseball Buddies.
Bye, everybody.